Good morning, Flosstube. It is Saturday, the 1st of January 2022. Happy New Year! I hope that you've all had good celebrations or quiet ones or whatever kind of celebrations you actually wanted to have. And I hope that you are looking forward to 2022. Thank you for joining me today. If you're a returning subscriber, I really appreciate you for coming back and joining in the conversation here. So me, Sarah, and if you are new, then welcome. I hope that you like what you find here, and I hope that you will come back again. It has been a little bit longer since I last recorded than I had anticipated. I think I misjudged just how busy the holidays were going to be, and frankly, just how busy the house was going to be with everyone at home again. So there has been no peace and quiet to be able to record, to find time to talk to you in peace. And it has taken me, as I said, a couple of days longer. I'd hoped to get back to you before the new year, but here I am anyway, and I hope you'll forgive me for my tardiness. Since the last time, we have obviously had Christmas. Charlotte got to be an angel in her school nativity. This year they recorded the nativity and sent out a link for parents and family to watch. Because of COVID, they didn't invite parents into the school to sit as an audience. Her school are still socially bubbling classes where they can, and just taking some measured precautions really to help prevent the spread of COVID at this time. So it meant that we didn't get to go and see her in person, but we did get to see her recording, and it was great fun. And she, even in an unscripted moment, there she was, this little angel at the back of the stage who stood up and gave the stars, who were all standing at the front of the stage in their star costumes. And they had just finished singing, and this little angel popped up at the back of the stage and said, "Yay, well done," and gave them a round of applause. So that little blooper, the teachers decided to keep in the video, and it was very sweet to see Charlotte's unscripted moment. She did have lines. She did have to say, "Do not be afraid," as one of the angels, and she really enjoyed the whole experience of that. Christmas itself was great excitement, and we had a lovely time. It was super busy in the run-up, and then it just kind of melted into the normal chaos of Christmas Day. But it was, when I say chaos, it was still very peaceful, and it was good. It was how we wanted it to be. Charlotte was very excited, although I think it dawned on me a couple of days before Christmas Eve that she was actually expecting to see Santa, because we kept saying, and everyone else kept saying to her, that Santa was coming. And so I think she actually thought that she would get to see Santa, and we had to sort of just juggle that expectation a little bit for her as Christmas Eve and Christmas Day themselves approached. But she did really well, and she had a great time. Just before Christmas, Charlotte and I were the recipients of some amazing Happy Meal, and I want to say a really big thank you to Kathleen from Kathleen's Trodden Trails, who's in Nebraska in the US, and Kathleen has sent us a parcel. Now, I have never seen such a beautiful box arrive on my doorstep. The box itself was just, it was so bright and colourful. It was a beautiful shade of blue with flowers on it, and this was the cardboard box. So tasteful, so beautiful. And it arrived out, I was very intrigued. I thought perhaps hubby had ordered something really special as a Christmas present, but no, it was even better than that. It was a missing parcel from Kathleen in Nebraska. Poor Kathleen had been wondering what on earth had happened to her parcel, because she posted it in early October, hoping that it would reach us by Halloween, and we didn't see it until early mid-December. So that is unusual. I do not know where this parcel has been in those 2 and a bit months, but wherever it was well looked after, because there wasn't even a dent in any of the corners. And Kathleen was relieved to hear that it had actually arrived, because I think she'd given up all hope. In the parcel, Kathleen had included some lovely little goodies for Charlotte. She included these amazing stickers. Thank you, Kathleen. She loves them. She has been sidetracked by Santa stickers of late, but now that those are gone, we will be having crafty time with these. Look at these amazing sparkly sea creatures. We'll be having crafty time with those. Kathleen also included a beautiful little bracelet for Charlotte. This is totally unnecessary, Kathleen, but we really appreciate your generosity and your friendship. Kathleen had these great postcards in, one for Charlotte and one for me. This lovely tea one. And in the box, very carefully wrapped, was this beautiful teacup and saucer duo. Just don't want to drop them. They've made it all the way from the US without dents. The last thing I want to do is make them crack in my kitchen. So Kathleen kindly forwarded this to me. It had been gifted to her by a friend at a time when Kathleen thought she would like to collect teacups, but she never did. So her little lonely teacup and saucer is now joining my family of teacups and saucers on the dresser. So thank you so much. It means so much to me that you would part with this to me, and I will take care of it, and nobody else is allowed to touch it. And it will sit happily on the shelf over here. If I can just move with some elements of dignity. There we go. I don't know if you can see. There we go. It looks perfectly at home right here on my dresser. Thank you so much, Kathleen. I treasure it, and I really appreciate that you thought to send it to me. But that wasn't all that Kathleen included in her parcel. Oh no. Kathleen also stitched me a fall stitch, an autumn stitch. This is just amazing. I want to show you up close her beautiful embroidery stitches. I love the colours, I love the design, I love the wrapping on the hoop, I love the silk and the lace, crocheted cotton lace on the top. I love everything about it, and most of all, I love that you thought of me to stitch this for me. I love this relaxed pose. I hope one day to achieve this. And I will really enjoy setting this out with fall items next year. I need to stitch a few more. Excuse me. I will really treasure this, Kathleen, and it's beautifully finished with some velveteen on the back. And I absolutely adore it. Thank you so much. I know that you were disappointed that I didn't get it on time for this autumn, but there's no disappointment here at all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kathleen. Excuse me. I'm just a little bit watery-eyed from a coughing fit there. Hopefully that frog will go away. We also had another beautiful piece of mail all the way from the Netherlands. And this is a postcard to Charlotte from Joanita at Stitchy Things. Joanita, I think I might steal this on Charlotte, or we'll have to share it, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that little vintage angels design on the Christmas card. So Charlotte was very happy with her card and was, excuse me, was trying hard to read it herself. And she was able to read a lot of it herself, so she's a good little reader. So she loved this, that this card had come for her. Thank you so much for your thoughtfulness, Joanita. And I'm very much looking forward to stitching with you this year on the Gentle Rain, and more about that in a little bit. For Christmas itself, I also received some lovely stitchy gifts. Margaret, my friend who lives just 5 minutes from the corner really, gifted me some duplicate patterns that she had. So she gifted me Wildflowers by the Blue Flower. And you all know, and Margaret obviously knows, that I love the Blue Flowers patterns, Janine's patterns. So I look forward to stitching that at some point. And also Margaret gave me the Mayflowers 3 stockings by Blackbird Designs. And Margaret had some of these stitched herself and they are gorgeous, so I'm looking forward to doing those at some stage. I have never stitched mini stockings, so that will be a nice challenge at some point. And then Margaret also made me a key fob. Is it macrame? Is that what we call it? This is a key fob that Laurie Holt's daughter did a tutorial for, Cassidy did a tutorial for on one of her Flosstube videos. So this will be hung with pride, thank you Margaret, on one of my project bags. And Margaret also made me one of Laurie's little flowers, so that will make its way onto a project bag or maybe just adorn my stitchy cupboards. I'll put that up. So thank you so much. I love those. I love the little handmade touches, Margaret, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for your generous gift. Now Santa brought me an amazing pattern. Mrs. Claus had a little word in his ear and we were able to arrange that. I got a Saviour's Praise. So this will be added to my hopeful stitching list for this year. Not the whole thing, but a start anyway. So this is a Saviour's Praise by Shakespeare's Peddler. And as I said, Santa was able to arrange that and all of the flosses. They're mostly anchor flosses and there are a couple of fancy flosses in there as well. I think I substituted a couple of DMC colours for anchors that I wasn't able to get hold of at the time of ordering. But on the whole, it's mostly as per the pattern. So at some stage, I think maybe in the spring, maybe around Easter time, it would be nice to make a start on Saviour's Praise. Sorry for the crinkling. And that's another fantastic pattern to look forward to. It will be, I think I said this the last time, it will be the biggest stitch I have ever started. So hopefully I'll have the stamina to keep at it and get that one stitched up at some point. No big rush. I think that is all of the gifts. Oh, I forgot to show you when I was talking about Charlotte's nativity, I forgot to show you her little picture that school sent home of Charlotte as an angel. Like butter wouldn't melt. Anyway, that was her. So yeah, those were my stitchy gifts and Happy Mail, and I'm so grateful to hubby, to Margaret, to Joanita and to Kathleen. Thank you all so very much. I have also been catching up with Flosstube, which is no mean feat because at this time of the year there's just so much content out there. I think I'm gonna have to skip a few whip parades along the way, or I'll still be watching them in July. But it is a wonderful time of year to see everyone else's whips and what they have in their stash and to be inspired, although I don't need more inspiration. So amid the whip parades and the sorry, I'm still froggy. Amid the whip parades and the Flossmas videos, I have come across a few new Flosstubers and I wanted to share them with you. So excuse me a second. Excuse me. Oh, I should show you this. Santa also arranged this. This is an Emma Bridgewater mug. And I love it. Very precious. So, the new Flosstubers that I've come across are Laura at Tarsier Stitches, and I'm going to put their information, the 3 different Flosstube information down below. So I watched Laura at Tarsier Stitches very first video And I found Laura to be very engaging and a great storyteller. She was showing some amazing projects, most of which I haven't seen before or heard of the designers. So Laura's stitching choices, certainly for her first video, were perhaps from well less known Etsy sellers and designers. And I think that's a great thing that there are Flosstubes out there like Laura's who are sharing and showing us and raising the profile of other designers. So I hope it's fair to say, Laura, that the project choices that you showed in your first video are a little less mainstream than perhaps a lot of the other Flosstubes have, and that's a wonderful thing. So if you are interested, head over and watch Laura. Her details will be below, as I said. Be aware that some of her choices of stitching are a little more edgy, perhaps, than everybody's tastes would be, but it's a good thing to go and check out what else is available in our stitching community. I wish you well with your Flosstube, Laura. So the next new to me Flosstuber that I came across is Yasmin at Yasmin's Made with Love. And I have seen Yasmin on Instagram and follow her there, but I hadn't quite picked up that she had started a Flosstube recently. Now, it's not brand new. She has, I think, maybe 6 episodes out at the moment. So over the Christmas holidays, I watched all 6. I watched the first and I really wanted to know more. I think one of the things I really loved about Yasmin and watching her video was the amount of passion and emotion or the full range of emotions that went into it. So she's passionate about her stitching, she loves it, she weeps for it when it goes wrong, she gets frustrated, and I love that. I love that she loves her craft. Again, Yasmin is showing projects that are different to the ones I would normally choose to stitch. Not all of them, some of them are the same, but quite a lot of different ones. And just with her cultural background, she's Polish and living in London, and she has in a multicultural marriage, so she has a lot of cultural influences which impacts her choices and decisions about what she's stitching. And again, it's just really lovely to see something different, to see different choices and different designers, and I just was really captivated by Yasmin. So go over there and watch her, you won't be sorry. And this morning I found a very brand new baby Flosstube by Natalie, and I just need to check I get this right. It's So Stitch So Nat. Again, I'll put that down below because there are underscores and things in the title of the Flosstube channel. But it's Natalie at So Stitch So Nat. She's also on Instagram as So Stitch So. But Natalie has just put out her first Flosstube, which is her whip parade. And like all of us, was surprised by how many whips she had. I got the blame for 2 lots of them. So I suppose I have to hands up and say, okay, I'm to blame for enabling Natalie for the Christmas Gingerbread Village and for the La Finestra del Tempo patterns. But she has many, many others to show and to share with us. So go over there, take a wee look, and send her a message of encouragement. And, you know, for all of these 3 Flosstubers, you know, go over and check them out and send them messages of encouragement, and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more, and just welcome them into the Flosstube community. I know this is something that this community is great at because I've been on the receiving end of it, so please let's extend that a little bit further and welcome Laura and Natalie and Yasmin into our Flosstube community. So, in the mayhem of the last couple of weeks, did I actually get any stitching done? Well, the answer is yes. Not as much as I'd maybe thought, but I did get some bits and pieces finished and progressed, and plans and working towards new things. So my first fully finished object I can't actually share with you today, I have, just before I recorded this video, I recorded that finish so that I can slip it in to a future video after it has been gifted, but I have to hold on to it a little bit longer and keep it a surprise for then. So there is a fully finished that I can't show you, but there is also one that I can, and that is the May La Finestra del Tempo calendar chart by Cosette Agogo. This was in the Stitchalong. This was the pattern that we were stitching for December, if you were following my lead, and started in August with the January pattern. We're now on May, and in fact now that we're in January we'll be stitching June. But anyway, if all of that is just too confusing, this is May and I finished it. I love that fox and the bird, the dove in the cage, and butterflies and flowers, and as always there is so much detail in these and so much stitching. They are little mini masterpieces. There's still plenty of time if you want to join us. You know, you could do 2 a month, or you could just do 1 a month and keep going even after the Stitchalong has officially finished. But there's still 7 more months for us to stitch together. So if you would like to join us and you haven't got the patterns, I will have the pattern information listed below. If you have the patterns hiding in your stash, dig them out and join in. Start with any month you like. Officially we're doing June in January, but you can do any month you like. And as you can see, I finished it as a flat ornament again, just to be on this easel. And I finished it with a little bit of Liberty fabric. So I'm very happy to have May completed, and I'm even happier that now it is January and I have my January finish and I can actually put it out on display. So I'm going to leave that one there, and we will have the months ready as I'd planned with the sale. That was the reason I started with January in August, so that I had time to finish it and time for it to be ready to be on display. So I'm hoping that I keep up with the rest of the months, because it's nice to have 5 of them ready to go. I then had a finished stitch, which is Clara Hansen by Hello from Liz Matthews. This was a stitch that I started along with Kim, that's kgoldman63 on Instagram, and the Contented Stitcher here on YouTube. So Kim is stitching hers slightly differently, and I'm excited to see how that's going to finish up. So you really should go and have a look at Kim's. Mine is stitched on this ivory 32 count Murano with DMC 597. And there she is. I enjoyed this very much. There's a lot of stitching in the bottom 2 borders, I think. Well, I found there to be. A lot of counting as well. But worth every stitch. And I stitched it as the pattern was. I know that Kim is changing hers and making some adaptations, because hers will be a tribute to the Attic Needle Workshop, and she has used a beautiful silk conversion by Jean from the Attic Needlework store as well. So as I said, go over and have a look at what Kim is doing with her pattern. So I am delighted to have Clara Hansen finished as we have moved into the new year. Some progress I have with a couple of whips is the Gingerbread Village, which is a start along that I started with Nikki Noodle. And I made this my Christmas Day and Boxing Day stitch in order to move it on a little bit, because I hadn't really achieved very much. This is the pattern from Little Fox Stitching. It's quite a lot of detail in there. You can see that I started in the centre, so that's the centre house there, and the two little snowballers. And I am stitching this on a 32 count Belfast linen called Plan Air. It's actually a really pale aqua blue colour, but there's just, I don't know if you can see that at all. It's very hard to photograph and film. It's a really pale aqua and it's gorgeous. So I have a question for you. You can see I've been stitching in hand on this piece of linen and it's wrinkled, and I did iron it, but the wrinkles are still there. So any tips for how I'm going to get the wrinkles to go once I'm finished? Other than telling me to put it in a frame because it's too big for any of my frames. Yeah, I'd just be interested to know how you get all those wrinkles out, properly out. Will it go with a bit of steam iron, or will it, you know, anyway, you tell me because you're the experts. But that is Christmas Gingerbread Village. And it's just stitched with DMCs, and that's Little Fox Stitching, who are a company that sell on Etsy. Again, all the information and the details will be below if you're interested. Another whip that I worked on, and I was so desperate to get this one finished before the turn of the year, but didn't, so I'm a bit disappointed because I'm close but just not close enough, is the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Hello Pumpkin Tree. So you can see I'm working in this pumpkin at the minute. I still have to finish this outer dark orange red, and then there's a bit there, and then I have all of this to fill in with the leaves and acorns. I think there might be another bird as well. So I really wanted not to carry this in to 2022, but to be honest, for no other reason than I just wanted to have something less on the list going forward. So it's fine. Absolutely love the colours. Beautiful autumnal palette. Very happy stitching because it's nice and big. I can't remember, but I think it's a 32 count Murano that I'm stitching on. So it's nice and easy to see, especially in good daylight. And I'm enjoying it. I even enjoyed the hedgehog, which I know a lot of people didn't because he's a little bit confettied. But gorgeous pattern by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. I do have the other 3 tree patterns, but I'm not sure that I'm going to stitch them this year. We'll see. We all know that plans change. I did lay out my cross stitch plans in the last video, and then as soon as I came away from that video and watched more YouTube, I thought, oh, I'd like to stitch that and that and that and that and that and that. So who knows what will happen to those plans as the months go on. But but I do have those plans, and today is the 1st of January, and the first plan that I have then for this new stitching year is to stitch the Gentle Rain, and this is going to be a start-along stitch-along with Joanita from Stitchy Things. So today, Joanita and I are both starting the Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower. Excuse me while I find the pattern. I've forgotten to get it out for you. But here is the pattern. How sweet the music of the rain is what it says across the top there. So we're going to stitch this. If you can see, there's like a pink sheen off the called for fabric, which I believe is blush. No, sorry, it's Bittersweet Linen by Lakeside Linens. So I didn't have that. So what I did was I dyed a piece of, oops, sorry. You can see I've gone to work this one on a frame. I dyed a piece of 32 count Murano, which was white originally, sorry. And I dyed it with Dylon Peony Pink. And I think that's giving you a fair representation of, it's not as deep pink, perhaps. It is a little bit mottled. quite a bit paler down this side, but I'm very happy with how that turned out. And I have obviously mounted this in the frame. I've had to fold my fabric over a little bit just because it was slightly too big, but there's a good 2.5 inches of spare fabric, as long as I've measured properly, on either side border. And I have marked the 2.5 inches in. That's just a little holding stitch just to show me where the top of the pattern should be. So I'm really, really excited to spend this afternoon sitting on my sofa and putting some stitches into the Gentle Rain. I hope you are too, Joanita, and I look forward to stitching along with you and watching each other's progress and perhaps encouraging each other along, because I know we both have many, many other things that we want to stitch this year, but it's nice to have someone to stitch along with. And please, if you are interested, if you have the pattern in your stash, if you're interested in buying the pattern to stitch along with us, then please join in, because the more the merrier. On Instagram, we are going to have a hashtag called the Gentle Rain Sal 2022. I'll put it down below just so that you get it right, so I get it right. So you can share your progress pictures with us, and it would be really nice to see. I know a few of you said that you would like to join us. If there are any more of you, please come along. The more the merrier. Another stitch that I am planning to start this week coming on Tuesday, is What Remains by Blackbird Designs. This is a stitch that I'm going to stitch in honour of my mum, and Tuesday is the 4th of January, which is the anniversary of her passing. This is a hard time of the year, and I don't want to get miserable on you, but it is a hard time of the year. So I am looking forward to doing something positive and productive with this time, and stitching this What Remains in memory of Mum is how I am choosing to do that. I know that Michelle from Penny's Daughter Shares has started stitching this in honour of her mum also, and I have had a contact from a couple of you, from Mary and also Natalie, who's just published her first Flosstube, and I believe that you are both going to stitch this in honour of your mothers as well. So I think it's a lovely thing to have company on this journey. I'm sorry that we all share this missing our mothers, but it's nice that we can share this honouring of our mothers together. So I'm looking forward to starting this on Tuesday, and I'm also going to make this my daily stitch for January anyway, and that's just to see if I can keep at it a little bit and make a good start on it in January, because as I said before, there's lots and lots of other plans. So I'll probably give it a few days when I start, but it will be nice then to have one thread a day to just keep a little bit of momentum going on this new start. So I'm going to stitch it on this linen and in the frame. So I will give all the details of the fabrics and the threads and everything once I have started. It is a 35 count fabric, which is what was recommended, but it's not the colour that was recommended. This is a permanent linen, which is really, really crispy. Is that right? The right way to describe it? It's really crispy. It's not like the Zweigarts, which are soft, but I thought that this was a good colour with the threads that come. You can see it's not as yellow. I think that's straw. I can't see from the back, but I think it was recommended as straw, but anyway, I'm going to go with this, and hopefully all of the threads will show up. And this is also a project that I'm going to try stitching with one thread over two on. I haven't stitched very much with just one thread, so we'll see what I think of the coverage whenever I get there. And again, I've put in my little holding stitch. So if you're not if you're quite new to using frames, just as a little piece of advice, is measure your borders first and put a little stitch in to hold, because it's very hard to find the top and bottom edge of your fabric once they're on a frame. Okay, so that was all my finishes and whip progress for December. As I said, there were some things that I didn't get finished, and I'm a wee bit disappointed because now I have to carry it over onto my Sweet 16 board. I have to carry it over Hello Pumpkin, and I was really hoping not to, but that's okay. So here is my Sweet 16 board as it stands today, and as you can see, I have 9 projects on there. Sorry, what you can see is probably that I've got 12. There are 9 carrying over, and there are 3 on there that are new starts, because they're going to be the new starts in this month, and those are Rain Rain, What Remains, and The Gentle Rain. So that's 12 projects, and that's 4 spaces, so there are 4 places for new things. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited to have room on the board for new things as they come up, because stitch-alongs always creep up, and it's nice to have the space. And I've limited myself to 16, but I do have 9 at the moment, plus 3 starting in January. So I think that's a pretty good way to start the year, with a little bit of room for more, some new things already on there, and a little bit carrying over. I'm hoping that Hello Pumpkin will be there for as short a time as I possibly can make it, but we'll see. We'll see. I have one little piece of haul that I came across yesterday when I was out shopping for a few essentials, and then I went into one of those little like pop-up Christmas stores that opens sometimes in shopping centres. And I went in there because they had everything 50% off, and I thought, I wonder will I find anything for finishing in there, and lo and behold, I found this. I found this wreath, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, wouldn't this be great with little ornaments hanging from it, or little stockings? So possibly Christmas. I mean, the wreath itself is not Christmassy, obviously. But possibly Christmas ornaments, or even like the little blackbird miniature stockings that Margaret gave me, something like that. Wouldn't that be cute? No idea what I will actually do with this, but I thought this would be a great finishing piece. You can remind me of that when I'm cursing and trying to figure out how to get pieces to stay on it. But for now, that was my great idea when I went shopping, and I got it for 50% off, which was a bargain. I have some quilting to share with you today. If quilting is not your thing and you don't want to hang around for that, then feel free to wave goodbye now, and I will see you the next time. But if you would like to see my quilting, I have a few different bits and pieces to show you today. So on the last video, which was really rather chock-a-block with cross-stitch, whips and plans, I didn't get time to show you quilting, and I missed a quilt that had been recently finished. I showed it on Instagram, but I forgot that I hadn't showed it here, and that was the Jelly Snowflake quilt. This quilt was last year's Jolly July free quilt by the Fat Quarter Shop. And so when I say last July, sorry, I really mean July 2020. And I stitched the quilt then, but I didn't do anything with it in terms of getting it basted or quilted. But I did that in time for this Christmas, and I put the Jelly Snowflake quilt out with my Christmas decor this year. I forgot to bring it to show you in the flesh, as it were, and it is now packed away with the Christmas decor. We had a blitz on our decor yesterday and put everything away. So I will show you a photograph of the finished quilt now. I love it. I love red and white quilts. This is red and cream, but I absolutely love it. And I'm so glad that I made the effort to get it finished. So here is Jelly Snowflake. Another quilt that I fixed up was the Granny Square, the Great Granny Square quilt, which is going to be donated to Siblings Together. It had wonky wavy borders, and basically I had made a mistake on the borders and they were too long, and the bias edges on the Granny Square blocks enabled stretch to happen, so they were wavy. So I took them all back and I fixed them up, and this is how it looked when it was all fixed, and I'm so pleased with how crisp and pristine this looks. And it was then ready to be sent off to a long armour because very, very generously I was contacted by one of the viewers here who offered to quilt this quilt for me and for the charity, just out of the goodness of her heart and in order to support us. And so I am thrilled that this level of community is happening, and I am so grateful, and I'm looking forward to being able to show you the Great Granny Squared quilt when it returns. Oh, the last quilt that I wanted to show you is not a recent quilt, but I wanted to show you it just as we're tidying up Christmas bits and pieces, and that is Charlotte's Christmas quilt. And this quilt I made for her just because I wanted to. Because I love Christmas, because I love her, because I love Laurie Holt, I made Laurie Holt's Cozy Christmas quilt. This quilt is a free pattern on the Riley Blake website. I'll try to find a link and put that below for you. You will need, it is an applique quilt, so you will need Laurie's So Simple shapes for this quilt, if you can get hold of them, which I'm sure they're still very widely available. But Laurie's blog had tutorials on it to help with piecing the quilt together, and I really enjoyed stitching this for Charlotte. So here is Charlotte's Cozy Christmas quilt. The other quilt that I was really trying hard to get finished before the new year is the Bonnie and Camille boho quilt, which I had been stitching for Siblings Together also. I didn't get it quilted, and I am disappointed about that. I got it out the other day and I got the backing basted onto it, and I had left it sitting here at the table in the hope that I would get enough time to get the machine gathered and be able to sit down and quilt it, but it just didn't happen like that. There are too many meal breaks and too many interruptions and disturbances. So currently the quilt is hanging over my banisters upstairs, and I will hopefully get to that sometime early in January. Try to carve out 3 or 4 hours where I can actually get at the table undisturbed and get it quilted and get it sent off then sometime in the spring over to Siblings Together. So given that this year when I say this year, I mean last year, blah, blah, blah. Right. Okay, let's start again. Given that in 2021, I did find it hard to make space, physical space and time space to quilt. I thought that I ought to rethink my hopes for 2022 quilting, and basically in that I don't think I'm going to start any new quilts. At least it's not in my plans to start any new quilts this year, 2022. I did have ideas of the Bonnie and Camille Shine On sampler quilt and a couple of other quilts, and you know, there are always ideas, aren't there? But I did have ideas for a quilt or two. But when I looked at my quilting whip list, I thought Actually, given the amount of time that I am able to carve out for quilting, I think it would be better just to concentrate on those whips. So here are my quilting whips. And you can see that I have another little board. It's a little bit like my Sweet 16 board for cross stitch. And that little board is, it just has 8 spaces on it. So I don't want to have any more than 8 quilty things going on at once. So you can see that here I've got the spelling bee quilt. And at the moment that project is currently just lots of blocks in a box. The Great Granny Squared quilt, as I said, is off with the long arm quilter, so hopefully when that comes back to me, it's just a matter of binding and labelling. The Bonnie and Camille boho quilt needs quilted and bound and labelled. And then I have a scrappy Irish chain quilt and a scrappy postage stamp quilt. And those are quilts that I've never shown here because there's not much to see. In fact, they currently just exist as blocks or parts of blocks. And they have been leaders and enders projects. One day they'll maybe be finished. It won't be 2022, but we'll see. So those are just being made as I go along. And another quilt that I've never shown you here is my Happy Days quilt. This is a Sarah Filkey Block of the Month quilt back in 2016, I think. And I kept up with making the blocks, but not the quilt. And it is currently underneath my sewing table, waiting for me to have the courage or the inspiration or the mojo to hand quilt it. It would be a good project for colder winter evenings, although it must be said, with this unseasonably warm Christmas, I don't know where those colder winter evenings are. But it would be a good evening for sitting on the sofa and hand stitching. What happened to that project is I started to hand quilt it. I started on a star and I really don't like how it looks. So I have hidden it away. And it needs to come back out, it needs to be finished because it's too beautiful to sit under a table. It needs to be on display somewhere, so yeah. So maybe I'll find some courage and time. Maybe I could take like 3 months sabbatical or something from both of my jobs. What do you reckon? and from my parenting role in order to achieve all of these things. But anyway, they're just plans. They're not rules and they're not essential. So we'll see how all of that goes. And those are some of the ideas that I have around things this year. So that is everything for today. All that remains is for me to once again wish each and every one of you a very happy new year. I live in hope that 2022 will be kinder to all of us and that somehow we will find life becoming a little bit more normal and that there will be lots and lots of stitchy community adventures ahead of us all. So until the next time, everyone, please stay well and stitch happy.